Hello and welcome to another Harsh Noise Gear Review. Today I am here with not one, not two, but three Cybergrunge synthesizers from SeeleOfficial, from the maker Elucidated Voyyd. These are synthesizers that are weird. They are a lot of fun. They all three are different. I only have three of them. These are just my personal collection. These synths are sometimes hard to get a hold of. And I'm going to explain how is the best way to get around them. I'm going to explain what each of these synths are, how they work, and my thoughts on them. But first, I want to talk a little bit about Cybergrunge and SeeleOfficial, spelled like this. Cybergrunge is a amazing website, cybergrunge.net, and it is ran by Elucidated Voyyd, who makes these synths. Now, she doesn't take commissions and doesn't make synths on the regular, so if you want to get one of these, my advice to you is to follow her Instagram, Elucidated Voyyd, check out cybergrunge.net frequently, but the best way to get your hand on a SeeleOfficial synthesizer is to go to the SeeleOfficial Etsy page, which I will link in the description, and follow her shop and set your email notifications whenever she posts an item, because that's the only way you're really going to get your hands on one of these synths. Elucidated Voyyd is a self-taught electrical engineer, so a lot of these are kind of not what you would expect. There's some interesting stuff going on, as you can see, but I'd like to go ahead and start getting into these synths. Let's start with this one, which is an 8-step sequencer. Now, this one does not operate with it has its own power. This wire coming off here, I need to go plug this in. Now you can see we got some lights on. And let's plug it in and see what it sounds like right off the bat. Now, this is an 8-step sequencer, and the 8 steps are right here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They each have their own knob. Then we have a tempo knob, 2 oscillators with tunable pitches, and then a resonance filter knob. And that's the basics. So let's try out the tempo knob. So I've turned the tempo all the way down now, but so you can hear. Let's keep it right in the middle. So you can hear that beat, the 8 sequences. Now, some of them you can't hear clearly because I haven't tuned these yet, but we're gonna get into that. So, what I've noticed is that. So let me turn all these knobs here to kind of like a center position. And it's still, so these knobs are kind of funky. Some of them move a little slower than others, but what's super interesting about this is that at their peaks, such as in all the way up or all the way down, each of these knobs at their peaks changes something, because there's a lot of stuff crossed with each other. This is not this sequencer has a few funky things with it. I'll show you real quick. You see how I near each peak when I get to like the top of this, these two, the bottom of this one, the bottom of this one, it really changes up the beat instead of just like, it really changes the sequence itself. Now, some of these have their sequence change dramatically near the top. Some have it change dramatically near the bottom. But it's all usually around the peaks. Not all of these change something as you twist the knob all the way, but kind of only when you reach the peak. So as you can see, this really, you can kind of create your own drum beats with this, kind of create your own sequences, change the pitch of your oscillators, and the resonance. We haven't tried this much. Let's turn up the volume and just mess around with the resonance and change this up a bit. That's kind of cool. Now, something I want to talk about I'm going to mention this a bunch of times, especially with some of the other synthesizers, but all of these synths, because they all function at weird extremes, and a lot of them involve, some of the other synths involve power starve, and a lot of them have crossed wires in such ways that you really have unpredictable sounds. What this sometimes means is that the volume will fluctuate drastically and wildly. Like in this patch right now, we have mostly silence for our sequences. And what I find works really well with these synths, and synths in general that have power starve and strange stuff like that, is run it through distortion. Run it through distortion, it'll beef it all up and pick up a lot of the quiet sounds. I want to hear what this sounds like through distortion. Hear that? It picked up stuff that we can't normally hear. It picked up each of the like steps of the sequencer, the very quiet sounds that we can't hear right now. It picked them each up, and you can hear each of the 8 steps. So you can really pull like more interesting sounds out of it than you expect. Like this right here, this sounds quiet and just like clicking, right? Distortion will pull up some cool stuff out of it. I'm going to play around with it a little bit right now. As I turn those knobs with the distortion, the dirtiness that comes through with this. Alright, so this is the 8-step sequencer. I really like this thing. I've created a lot of really funky, bizarre rhythms. What I really like doing is clocking in like a nice tempo on this, and then tapping in the same tempo on my drum machine. I can tap in the tempo on my delay pedal. You know, obviously this thing is not smart. You can't, there's no clock in on this, there's no clock out. There's no way to sync this tempo other than your ear and tapping in on something else, but when you get that tempo right, you can make some crazy stuff with this. It's a lot of fun, and really is a mini beat studio for Cybergrunge, that Cybergrunge sound, that gnarly synth, that grindy, gnarly synth sound that is distinctive of a lot of harsh noise and Cybergrunge. Let's get on to the next one. We're going to set that one aside. Let's do the drone synthesizer. This one is built in an old GoPro case, I think, and it is a 5 oscillator drone. And it lights up. It's gorgeous. I love this one. It's absolutely fantastic. The one downside of it is it doesn't lie flat when you plug it in because of the thing on the back. But that's okay. It's a fun handheld device. It's got 3 LEDs, 5 oscillators, and 1 wave shaper knob. Now, there's 6 knobs. They're unlabeled. I don't know which one's the wave shaper knob. I don't know which oscillator's which, really, but I play around with it, and I can find the ones connected to the 3 lights. There are these 3 knobs here are connected to these 3 lights, and let's go ahead and just like kind of dive in and see what it sounds like without distortion first. Then I'm going to plug it in through the distortion, and you can see how it pulls out the rest of the sound. As you can see, this knob affects this this light here, this knob affects this light, this little red light is this knob over here. Now, you hear how this volume is kind of low, and then it gets really high? This is what I was talking about with a lot of Cybergrunge synthesizers. They're all bizarrely wired and circuit bent and are unlike anything else, and you run into volume issues. About stuff like this, so I run it through distortion. Let's hear this through distortion. Kind of the same, but really it is gonna like pick up and equalize the volume, because this is way louder. But I'm gonna play a little bit more without distortion so you can hear some of the volume variance. Yeah, kind of bizarre and kind of wonky, especially without running it through any effects, because its volume is so variable, which is good for dynamic performances if you really want that. Like, it's kind of cool to change from quiet to louder. But let's go ahead and just plug in that DOD, that distortion. Beautiful, beautiful. This is one of my favorites to use for drone. It's one of my favorites to use for Cybergrunge chaotic music. It's really good for that. I have also been planning a live performance where I just use this and scream a lot. It's loads of fun. Let's move on to the last one. Oh, did you hear that? There's still some residual power in the synthesizer. That is gorgeous. That you can hear that. That's so cool. I want to try that again. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, funky stuff. All right, this one. This is the first Cybergrunge synth I ever got, and it is it's my favorite. I've recorded a lot of stuff with this one, and I can't explain how most of it works. I can explain how some of it works, and I'm going to. But I can't tell you what all of this does specifically because I still don't know. It's a mystery. We've got a few oscillators. We've got 4 switches, a power starved knob, another knob, and another 6 knobs, and a dead switch. This switch is not connected to anything. I was told by Elucidated Voyyd, the maker of this synth, that this switch is to confound gearheads. So if you're a gearhead out there, I hope this confounds you. It's very clicky. It's a wonderful switch to click. I have used it in recordings. It's not hooked up to anything inside this box. Fun. This also has one internal LED that you'll be able to see through there, and it has this loose wire out here which can be used as a body contact and metal contact on the knobs and switches to further change the sound. This one again has this is a power starved knob, and this totally changes the sound and makes this into a funky, bizarre, unpredictable... Man, I'm saying those words a lot. Funky, bizarre, whatever. Unpredictable synths. And so we're going to be plugging it through our death metal, but again, not at first. And as you've noticed, none of these synths have on switches. They just get plugged in and they're turned on max volume. That's how pretty much every Sele synth I've ever seen works. There is no... I've never seen a volume knob on a Sele synth. I have seen power switches on some Sele synths, but none that I own. This is not... Most of these 2 synths are 9-volt center negative. This synth, still plugged in and glowing, is has a fixed power cord. But let's go ahead and delve into this one. So you can hear right off the bat, we got weird volume stuff going on. We got... You can use it to generate a solid tone. Even a varying tone. Okay. So these three knobs here, these three switches here are 2-position, this one is 3-positional. This knob only works when this switch is in the down position. And kind of controls one of the oscillators. I think this is an oscillator of some kind, and it kind of controls this knob kind of controls that pitch. You see in the middle it doesn't do anything, and in the top position it doesn't do anything, but in the bottom position it gives me a few different sounds. Right now, I'm at max power. I'm at full power, but I'm going to reduce the power all the way. I'm kind of just playing around a little bit. It's hard to explain exactly what everything does. You kind of just got to figure it out, and that's how a lot of Seele synths are. A lot of Seele synths are mysterious. You're not going to know what's what. This one's the most obvious because it's a sequencer and everything kind of... This one makes the most sense. The last one I showed didn't make a lot of sense. It's just got 6 knobs. This one's got 8 knobs and 4 switches, and oh, hold on. See how I'm able to like touch this this loose wire to the other metal? It's not really touch sensitive to my skin, but it is touch sensitive to either the knobs or the switches that are metal. Okay, so we kind of got a feel for it. Let's run it through distortion to see how it sounds once we pull all that low volume variable stuff up to the same volume level as everything else. And you can see that's really quiet without it, but running it through the death metal, it's a thing of beauty. Hours of fun. I have had, like, listen to that, I'm not touching it, and it's got a little bit of variance in it because of the power starve. Love that. I hope that this has given you a kind of good, look, I'm knocking it around. I'm a little rough with my gear, but I'm kind of just demonstrating that when this thing is in power starve mode, so anything other than like this full power, when it's in power starve mode, it just becomes unpredictable. I got distracted. I was trying to conclude the video, and I got distracted playing with it again. Alright, let's conclude this bad boy. These are SeeleOfficial synthesizers from Cybergrunge.net by Elucidated Voyyd. They are some of my absolute favorite synthesizers. I cannot recommend them and this maker enough. I'm going to put links in the description for her Instagram and her Etsy, where you should absolutely follow her Etsy and turn on those email notifications to see when she puts something in the store randomly at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. Because that's when she feels like making stuff, and that's when you gotta grab that synth. They are usually really affordable, anywhere from $60 to $90. And she's all self-taught. You gotta support the homies. And I hope, I hope that kind of gave you a rundown of SeeleOfficial synthesizers. Now, of course, these are just the ones that I have. She has made all sorts of different crazy things out of recycled, it's all recycled housing, out of recycled housing and all sorts of different parts and junk and absolutely crazy stuff. I've seen like joysticks and like alarm clocks and like game controllers and like all sorts of stuff that she's made that I've either wasn't quick enough to grab, or, you know, I just bought one or something. But highly recommend. And I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much. And don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you. Goodbye.